painful, fake, because it tried to copy others, not realizing that each one has a different question paper, a different test. Ladies and gentlemen, walk your own path, while also that makes possibly we could be making serious mistakes in our life, especially in the zeal of youth, in the super duper enthusiasm, zeal, energy as young men and ladies. We could be making some serious mistakes. But what's beautiful in life is life allows us to correct those mistakes. And the first time we got this pencil with a rubber and eraser behind, it's nice. Because mistakes can be erased. Some mistakes we have made can be corrected. Some mistakes we can't. The consequences are so bad. We just have to now have the support system to handle it. Many mistakes can't even be reversible sometimes. इसीलिए हम कई बार कहते हैं हिंदी में कहते हैं हम कई बार भूल करना ना प्रकृति है, स्वभाव है अपना. ऐसा कोई है जो भूल नहीं करता? मान लेना संस्कृति है. It's culture to accept that I made a mistake. कई लोग तो mistake मानते ही नहीं. They don't accept they made a mistake. भूल करना प्रकृति है, मान लेना संस्कृति है, और सुधार लेना प्रगति. Progressive life is to accept that I made a mistake and to try and not repeat it again and improve in the area that we made a mistake. True that our birth is given to us by others.
Oh, we can't wrong, see.
Given by others. Education given by others.
Okay, so yeah, we're doing something different this morning. Hey, how everyone doing? I said, oh my goodness, y'all. This has been a long weekend. So yeah. I'm supposed to been went last Saturday. I supposed to been went live yesterday. Today is Monday, so yeah. So we shall begin. We are on chapter 11. The pain, the price of freedom. It's like I feel so funny because I used to be up, got my tea, got this going. I said, let me just get it going. Let me go. Let me go. And that's what's going on now. So here I am, and we're going to finish this thing up tomorrow, but I'm going to do 4 chapters today. I'm excited about it because what we've been reading so far, it's been very good. It's been real good. It's been real enlightening. Yes, so let's dive into this thing, what I'm doing. Wow, this stuff popping up. Let's see, I got everything going like I'm supposed to be. Let's see that mic. Everything good. Everything is good. Let's dive into it, yeah. Okay. One of the essential requirements for true spiritual growth and deep personal transformation is coming to peace with pain. No expansion or evolution can take place without change, and periods of change are not always comfortable. Change involves challenging what is familiar to us and daring to question our traditional needs for safety, comfort, and control. This is often perceived as a painful experience, Becoming familiar with this pain is part of your growth. Even though you may not actually like the feeling of inner disturbance, you must be able to sit quietly inside and face them if you want to see where they come from. Once you can face your disturbance, you will realize that there is a level of pain seated deep in the core of your heart. This pain is so uncomfortable, so challenging, and so destructive to the individual self that your entire life has been avoiding it. Your entire personality is built upon ways of being, thinking, acting, and believing that we are developed to avoid this pain. Since avoiding the pain prohibits you from exploring the part of your being that is beyond the layer, real growth takes place when you finally decide to deal with the pain. Because the pain is at the core of the heart, it radiates out and affects everything you do. But this pain is not the physical pain that you receive as messages from your body. Physical pain is only there when something is psychologically wrong. Inner pain is always there, underneath, hidden by the layers of our thoughts and emotions. We feel it most when our hearts go into turmoil, like when the world does not meet our expectations. This is an inner psychological pain. The psyche is built upon avoiding this pain, and as a result, it has fear of pain as its foundation. This is that is what caused the psyche to be. Okay, that is what caused the psyche to be. To understand this, notice that if the feeling of rejection is a major part for you, you will fear experiences that cause rejection. The fear will become part of your psyche. Even though the actual events causing rejection are infrequent, you will have to deal with the fear of rejections all the time. That is how we create a pain that is always there. If you are doing something to avoid pain, the pain is ruining your life. All of your thoughts and feelings will be affected by your fears. You will come to see that any behavior patterns based upon the avoidance of pain becomes a doorway to the pain itself. If you are afraid of being rejected by someone and you approach the person with the intentions of winning their exception, you are, no, intention, let me read that again. Okay, if you are afraid of being rejected by someone and you approach that person with the intentions of winning their acceptance, you are skating on thin ice. All they have to do is look at you sideways or say the wrong thing, and you will feel the pain of rejection. Wow. Okay, the bottom line is that since you approach them in the name of rejection, you're going to be dancing on the edge of rejection throughout the interaction. One way or another, the feeling you experience will work their way back to the motive behind your actions. The avoidance of pain is what your actions are linked to, and you will feel the link in your heart. The heart is where pain comes from, and this is why you feel so many disturbances as you go through the day. The heart is where the pain comes from, and this is why you feel so many disturbances as you go through the day. You have this core of pain deep in your heart. Your personality traits and behavior patterns are all about avoiding this pain. You avoid it by keeping your weight at a certain way, wearing certain clothes, talking a certain way, and choosing a certain hairstyle. Everything you do is about the avoidance of this pain. If you want to validate this, just see what happens if someone mentions your weight or criticizes your clothes. You feel pain. Every time you do something in the name of avoiding pain, that something becomes a link that holds the potential for the pain you're avoiding. If you do not want to deal with the pain at its core, then what you do to avoid it had better work. If you're hiding yourself in a busy social life, then anything anyone does that challenges your self-esteem, such as not inviting you to an event, will cause you to feel the pain. Let's say you called a friend to go see a movie and they say they're busy. Some people feel hurt by that. You would feel pain if the reason you called them was the avoidance of pain. Let's say you go outside and you call your dog, "Hey Spot, come here," and he doesn't come. If the reason you called Spot was to feed him and you just put the bowl down and let him eat when he wants. Hold up, let me read that again. If the reason you called Spot was to feed him, you'll just put the bowl down and let him eat when he wants. But if you called Spot because you had a hard day and Spot didn't come, you would feel pain. Even the dog doesn't like me. Why would there be heartfelt pain in the dog not coming? Why would there be pain in a friend saying they are going someplace else and they can't go to the movies today? How does that generate pain? It is because deep inside there is pain that you have not processed. You attempted to avoid this pain. Your attempt to avoid this pain has created layer upon layer of sensitivity that are all linked to the hidden pain. Let's take a moment to see how these layers build up. In order to avoid the pain of rejection, you work hard to maintain friendships. Since you've seen that since you've seen that it is possible to get rejected even by friends, you're going to work harder and harder to avoid it. To succeed, you have to be sure everything you do is acceptable to others. This determines how you dress and how you act. Notice you're no longer focused directly Notice you're no longer focused directly on rejection. Now it's about your clothes, how you walk, or what you drive. You've gone another layer further away from the core pain. If somebody comes up to you and say, "Wow, I thought you could afford a nicer car than that," you'll feel a disturbing reaction. How could that cause pain? What's the big deal if somebody says something about your car? You have to ask yourself, what is it that reacted in your heart? What is that feeling? Why is that happening? People don't normally ask why. They just try to keep they just try to keep it from happening. You must go deeper than that and look at the dynamics of the layers that have been created. At the core of no, you must go deeper than that and look at the dynamics of the layers that have been created. At the core, there is pain. Then, in order to avoid the pain, you try to stay busy with friends and hide in their acceptance. That is the first layer out. Then, in order to assure your acceptance, you try to present yourself a certain way so that they can win friends and influence. No, no, no. Then, in order to assure your acceptance, you try to present yourself a certain way so that you can win friends and influence people. That is another layer out. Each layer is attached to the original pain. This is why simple, everyday interactions can affect you so much if the core pain was not the motivation behind proving yourself each day. What people say will not affect you. But since avoiding the core pain is why you're trying to prove yourself, you end up bringing the potential for pain into everything that happens. You end up so sensitive that you are unable to live in this world without getting hurt. You cannot even interact with people or do other normal daily activities without events affecting your heart. If you watch carefully, you will see that even simple interactions often cause some degree of pain, insecurity, or general disturbance. To get to get some distance from this, you first need to get some perspective. Walk outside on a clear night and just look up at the sky. You are sitting on a planet spinning around in the middle of absolutely nowhere. Though you can only see a few thousand stars, there are hundreds of billions of stars in our Milky Way galaxy alone. In fact, it is estimated that there are over 1 trillion stars in the spiraling galaxy, and that galaxy would look like one star to us if we could even see it. You are just standing on one little ball of dirt and spinning around one of those stars. For that perspective, do you really care what people think about your clothes or your car? Do you really need to feel embarrassed if you forget someone's name? How can you let these meaningless things cause pain? If you want out, if you want a decent life, you had better not devote your life to avoiding psychological pain. You had better not spend your life worrying about whether people like you or whether your car impresses people. What kind of life is that? It is a life of pain. You may not think that you may not think you feel pain that often, but you really do. To spend your life avoiding pain means it's always right behind you. At any point, you can slip and say the wrong thing. At any point, anything can happen. So you end up devoting your life to the avoidance of pain. Once you look inside yourself and start to own this, you will see that you are back at the same two foundational choices. One choice is to leave the pain inside and continue to struggle with the outside. The other choice is to decide that you don't want to spend your entire life avoiding the inner pain. You'd rather get you'd rather get you'd rather get rid of it. Few people ever dare to turn the process inside like this. Most people don't even realize that they are running around with pockets of pain inside that needs to be worked out. Do you really want to carry that inside and have to manipulate the world to avoid feeling it? What would your life be if it wasn't run by that pain? You would be free. You could walk around this world completely free, just having fun, just being comfortable with whatever happens. You can actually live a life full of interesting experiences just enjoy these experiences, whatever they are. In essence, you could simply live your life and experience what it's like to be on a planet that is spinning around in the middle of nowhere until you die. To live at this level of freedom, you must learn not to be afraid of inner pain and disturbance. As long as you are afraid of the pain, you will try to protect yourself from it. The fear will make you do that. If you want to be free, simply view inner pain as a temporary shift in your energy flow. There is no reason to fear this experience. You must not be afraid of rejection or of how you would feel if you got sick, or if someone died, or if something else went wrong. You cannot spend your life avoiding things that are not actually happening. You cannot spend your life avoiding things that are not actually happening, or everything will become negative. All you will end up seeing is how much can potentially go wrong. Do you have any idea how many things can cause inner pain and disturbance? Probably more than there are stars in the sky. If you want to grow and be free to explore life, you cannot spend your life avoiding the myriad things that might hurt your heart or mind. You must look inside yourself and determine that from now on, pain is not a problem. It's just a thing in the universe. Somebody can say something that to you that can cause your heart to react and catch fire, but then it passes. It's a temporary experience. Most people can hardly imagine what it would be like to be at peace with inner disturbance. But if you do not learn to be comfortable with it, you will devote your life to avoiding it. If you feel insecurity, it's just a feeling. You can handle a feeling, right? If you feeling embarrassed, it's just a feeling. It's just a part of creation. If you feel jealousy and your heart burns, just like it is objectively, if you feel jealousy and your heart burns, just look at it objectively, like you would a mild bruise. It's a thing in the universe that is passing through your system. Laugh at it, have fun with it, but don't be afraid of it. It cannot touch you unless you touch it. Let's explore this by first looking at a basic, a basic human tendency. When something painful touches your body, you tend to pull away instinctively. You even do this with unpleasant smells and tastes. The fact is, your psyche does the same thing. If something disturbing touches it, its tendency is to withdraw, to pull back, and to protect itself. It does this with insecurity, jealousy, and any of the other vibrations we've been discussing. In essence, you close, which is simply an attempt to put a shield around your energy, your inner energy. You can feel the effects of this as the sensation of contracting within your heart. Somebody says something displeasing and you feel some disturbance in your heart. Then your mind starts talking, I don't have to put up with this. I'll just walk away and never talk to them again. They'll be sorry. Your heart is attempting to pull back from what it's experienced and protect itself so it doesn't have to experience the feeling again. You do this because you can't handle the pain you're feeling. As long as you can't handle the pain, you will react by closing in order to protect yourself. Once you close, your mind will build an entire psychological structure around your closed energy. Your thoughts will try to rationalize why you're right, why the other person wrong, and what you should do about it. If you buy into this, it will become a part of you. For years, the pain will remain inside and actually become one of the building blocks of your entire life. It will shape your future reactions, thoughts, and preferences. Prefer, prefer, preference, preference, yeah, preference. When you deal with a situation by resisting the pain it causes, you will have to adjust your behavior and thoughts in order to protect yourself. You will have to do this that nothing You will have to do this so that nothing aggravates what you have held inside about the incident. You will end up building an entire protection structure around the closure. If you have the clarity to watch this happen and understand the long-term consequences, you will want to be free of this trap. You will never be free, however, until you get to the point where you are willing to release the initial pain instead of avoiding it. You must learn to transcend the tendency to avoid the pain. Wise beings do not want to remain enslaved to the fear of pain. They permit the world to be what it is instead of being afraid of it. They wholeheartedly participates in life, but not for the purpose of using life to avoid themselves. If life does something that causes a disturbance inside of you, instead of pulling it away, let it pass through you like the wind. After all, things happen every day that cause inner disturbance. At any moment, you can feel frustration, anger, fear, jealousy, insecurity, or embarrassment. If you watch, you will see that the heart is trying to push it all away. If you want to be free, you have to learn to stop fighting these human feelings. Sometimes you will notice that it feels hot inside as pain passes. In fact, as you relax into the energy of the pain, you may feel tremendous heat in your heart. That is the pain being purified from your heart. Learn to enjoy that burning. It is also called the fire of yoga. It does not seem enjoyable, but you will learn to enjoy it because it's freeing you. In truth, pain, in truth, pain is the price of freedom. Wow, in truth, pain is the price of freedom. And the moment you are willing to pay the price, you will no longer be afraid. The moment you are not afraid of the pain, you'll be able to face all of life's situations without fear. Sometimes you will go through deep experiences that bring up intense pain inside of you. If it is in there, it's going to come up. If you have any wisdom, you will leave it alone and not try to change your life to avoid it. You will just relax and give it the space it needs to release and burn through you. You do not want this stuff inside of your heart. To feel great love and freedom, to find the presence of God within you, all of this stored pain must go. It is this inner work that spirituality becomes a reality. Spiritual growth exists in that moment when you are consciously willing to pay the price of freedom. Excuse me. You must be willing at all times and all circumstances to remain conscious in the face of pain and to work with your heart by relaxing and remaining open. Remember, if you close around something, you will be psychologically sensitive about the subject for the rest of your life. Because you stored it inside of you, you will be afraid that it will happen again. But if you relax instead of closing, it will work its way through you. If you stay open, the blocked energy inside of you will release naturally, and you will not take on any more. This is the core of spiritual growth. When you are comfortable with pain passing through you, you will be free. This world will never be able to bother you again because the worst the world can do is to hit the pain stored within you. If you do not care, if you are no longer afraid of yourself, you are free. Wow. If you are no longer afraid of yourself, you are free. You will then be able to walk through this world more vibrant and alive than ever before. You will feel everything at a deeper level. You will begin to have truly beautiful experience rise up within you. Eventually, you will understand that there is an ocean of love behind all this fear and pain. That force will sustain you by feeding your heart from deep within. Over time, you will form an intensely personal relationship with this beautiful inner force relationship with you, y'all. It will replace the relationship you currently have with the inner pain and disturbance. Wow. Now, peace and love will run your life. When you pass beyond the layer of pain, you will finally be free from the binds of the psyche. You done with that? Part 4, Going Beyond. Chapter 12, Taking Down the Walls. At some point in your growth, it starts to become quieter inside. This happens quite naturally as you take a deeper seat within yourself. You then come to realize that though you have always been in there, you have been completely overwhelmed by the constant barrage of thoughts, emotions, sensory inputs that draw on your consciousness. As you see this, it begins to dawn on you that you might actually be able to go beyond all these disturbances. The more you sit in the seat of witness, the more you sit in the seat of witness consciousness, the more you realize that since you are completely independent of what you are watching, there must be a way to break free of the magical hold that the psyche has on your awareness. There must be a way out. This inner breakthrough, a complete to mm-mm. This inner breakthrough to complete freedom is traditionally depicted by the overused and general misunderstood term, enlightenment. The problem is that our views of enlightenment are either based upon our personal experiences or upon our limited conceptual understanding. Since most people have never had experiences, since most people have never had experiences in this, since most people have never had experiences in this realm, the state of enlightenment is either scoffed at completely or viewed as the ultimate mystical state accessible to almost no one. Wow, accessible to almost no one. It's safe to say that the only thing that most people know for sure about enlightenment is that they are not there. I've got so many playdates. Oh, however, with the understanding that thoughts, emotions, and sensory objects are simply passing before your consciousness, it is because reasonable. It becomes before your consciousness. It becomes reasonable to question whether your sense of awareness needs to be limited to this experience. What if consciousness were to remove its focus from your personal set of thoughts, your personal set of emotions, your limited sensory input? Would you become untethered from the bonds of the personal self and be set free to explore beyond? And how exactly did consciousness become bound to the personal self to begin with? The problem with even attempting to consider these questions is that they call for a discussion of what exists beyond the confines of the mind. Obviously, that discussion is very difficult to have from within the mental structure we are accustomed to using. For this reason, you will begin exploring the untethered state through the use of an allegory, much like Plato used dialogue to tell his allegory of the cave in 360 BC. Oh, much like Plato used dialogue to tell his allegory of the cave in 1360 BC. We will use a short story to tell our allegory for a very special house. No, we will use a short story to tell our allegory of a very special house. Imagine that you found yourself in the midst of an open field where the sun was always shining. It was a beautiful place of great light and great openness. I love stories. It was so beautiful that you decided you wanted to live there. So you bought the land, and right in the middle of the enormous field, you began personally designing and building the house of your dreams. You put down a solid foundation because you wanted the house to be very strong and to last a long time. You built the house out of the concrete blocks so you wouldn't have any problems with decaying or leaking. To make the house ecologically sound, you decided to put in very few windows to build a roof with lots of overhang. As you put in the windows and the house was complete, you realized that a lot of heat still come in. So you installed high quality protective shutters that only reflected sunlight and heat back to the outside, but also could be locked down for security purposes. It was a very large house that could store enough supplies to allow for complete self-sufficiency. You even built a separate quarter for a quiet acquaintance who would keep the house clean and leave you to be in solitude. And solitude it would be, since your romantic quest included a commitment to no phones, radios, televisions, or internet connections. Your house was finally finished, and you were very excited to be living out there. You loved the openness of the field and all the light and beauty of nature. But most of all, you were enamored with the house. But most of all, you were enamored with the house. You had put your heart and soul into every aspect of the design, and it showed. It was truly you. In fact, over time, between your infatuation with the house and your growing discomfort with all the strange sights and sounds outside, you started spending more time indoors. It was then that you realized that with the shutter and doors fully locked down, the house actually began to feel like a fortress. And this was just fine with you. Being a city person, it was pretty scary living so far out of touch in total isolation. But you were committed to making it on your own. So you gradually become accustomed to living safely within the confines of the house. Uh-oh. You happily went about your business of reading and writing as you had always longed to do. It was actually quite comfortable in there since it was fully climate controlled and you had been wise enough to instill a modern full spectrum lighting system. Ironically, you find your house so comfortable, enjoyable, and safe that you stopped thinking about the outside altogether. After all, the inside was familiar, predictable, and within the realm of your control. The outside was unknown, unpredictable, and completely out of your control. Your sense of inner sanctum Your sense of inner sanctum was supported by the fact that when the shutters and blinds were locked in place, they blended like paintings on the wall, and you never even considered risking going outside to unlock them. They were so well made that when the lights were turned off, it was absolutely pitch dark, day or night. But since you was accustomed to never turning off the lights, you didn't notice this until they started burning out. It was only then that you realized your predicament. No one had left you no one had left you replacement bulbs compatible with the new system. This meant that once the final light failed, you were left to find your way around the house in absolutely darkness. Oh my God, he explained in consciousness. Oh wow. From that point forward, the only light you had came from the few counters you kept for emergencies, but there were very few of these, so you conserved them well. Being a person who loved light, this is very difficult for you. Yet it was not difficult enough to force you to overcome the fears you had developed about leaving the safety of your house. Eventually, the stress of living in this darkness took its toll on your health, both physically and mentally. With time, the very memory of the beautiful sunlit field began to fade from your mind. never to return again. Wow. You began very concerned about keeping the house lit. The only light you knew about was the light you created in the darkness with your previous candles. It became pretty lonely in there. You were cut off from everything, and the only comfort you felt was the sense of protecting your house afforded you. Hold up. And the only comfort you felt was the sense of protection your house afforded you. You were no longer aware of exactly what you were so afraid of. You were just aware of always being scared and uncomfortable. It was all you could do just to try to hold yourself together. You even stopped reading and writing because of the lack of light. It was dark, and you too were falling into darkness. Then one day, the housekeeper, who shared your overwhelming need to stay in the safety of the house, called you down to the storage cellar. You were amazed by what you saw. A full supply of energy flashlights had been found that could be powered simply by shaking them. Your housekeeper had already set some up, and the cellar was fully radiated. This was a true turning point in your life. You set about your business of trying to create light, beauty, and happiness within the confines of your house. You decorated each room and worked together to keep the light shining brightly until you went to sleep. You started reading and writing again, and it turned out that your housemate loved reading your writings. In fact, it was not just the artificial lights that were lighting the house. The ember, the amber of love had begun to glow in both your hearts. Imagine the light you could create together instead of apart. You began spending all of your time with each other, and you even staged a marriage ceremony. It was so beautiful as you vowed to take care of each other and bring love and light into your home. Compared to the darkness in which you had been living, this was heaven. One day, you came across a book in your library. It interested you because it talked about the natural, radiant light that existed outside. It even spoke of bathing in the light, but it was talking about more light than you could ever imagine, without anyone having to do anything to create it. This was confusing to you. After all, the only light you knew was about the artificial lights from counters and flashlights. How could you make that much light and keep it going? You didn't have a clue what this book was talking about because you could only view things in relation to the way you were living. You were living inside the house, and therefore you were living inside of darkness. All the light that you could experience was limited to what you could create within the house. You had lived there for so long that all your hopes, dreams, philosophies, and beliefs were founded upon being in the dark house. Your whole world was about keeping together the life you had managed to build for yourself within the confines of the house. When you continued, when you continued reading this seemingly mystical book, it spoke of what it was like to actually walk around in this natural light. It seemed to be describing a self-luminous, omnipresent light that shines everywhere all at once. It was a light that falls on everything constantly and evenly. Though you had no frame of reference for understanding this, it touched something deep inside of you. The book then discussed actually going outside, that is, going beyond the walls of the world you have created for yourself. In fact, it said that while you are attached and enamored with the world you created, it said that while you are attached and enamored with the world you created to avoid darkness, you would never know the abundance of natural light that is beyond the confines of your house. You will no. How will you ever go outside when you are so independent upon what you have built inside? Wow, right. The analogy of life inside the house is a perfect fit for our predicaments. Our consciousness, our awareness of being is living deep inside of us in an artificially sealed off area that is absolute. It has four walls, a floor, and a roof. It is so solid that no one ray of natural light comes in. The only light we get is what we manage to create for ourselves. If we don't create good situations for ourselves, there is darkness. So we are very busy decorating daily. We do this by trying to bring things in there with us, hoping to create at least a little light in the house of our own making where we had sealed ourselves off. That is the visual. You are inside a house, totally sealed off from natural light, and the house is sitting in the middle of an open field full of brilliant light. But what is your house made of? What are your walls made of? Oh boy. Why is it still ringing? Okay. Mm, if we, okay. It has four walls, a floor, and a roof. It is solid that no one ray of natural light comes in. The only light we get is what we manage to create for ourselves. If we don't create good situations for ourselves, there is darkness. So we are very busy decorating daily. We do this by trying to bring things in there with us, hoping to create at least a little light in the house of our own making, where we have sealed ourselves out. That's exactly what happened. It's like that's why I'm so open minded to um new experiences, new ways of thinking, because ever since when I got introduced, I think I got introduced to a new way of thinking in 2009 when I was staying in Islington Projects and I had to go to, they used to have housing authority meetings regular. And I used to go to them. They said it was mandatory, but well, I guess it was mandatory because at that time I wasn't working, so everything's getting, they be mandatory when you're not working because it's like you get benefits or assistance, and so you have to, obligate yourself to things to compensate for you not working. But anyway, that's when I got introduced to a new way of thinking in 2009. And after that, that's when I started to view life differently. But that's another story. Yeah. We do this by trying to bring things in there with us, hoping to create at least, why I always say that, at least a little light in the house of our own making where we have sealed ourselves out. This is the visual. You are inside a house totally sealed out from natural light. And the house is sitting in the middle of an open field full of brilliant light. But what is your house made of? What are your walls made of? How can the seal How can they seal out all that light and keep you locked inside? Your house is made of your thoughts and emotions. Wow. I said that. It was getting somewhere with this, but they did that analogy, so. Okay. The walls are made of your psyche. That's what the house is. It is all your past experiences, all your thoughts and emotions, all the concepts, views, opinions, beliefs, hopes, and dreams that you have collected around yourself. You hold them in place on all sides, including above and below you. You have pulled together in your mind a specific set of thoughts and emotions, and then you have woven them together in a conceptual world in which you live. This mental structure completely blocks you from whatever natural light that is on the outside of its walls. You have walls of thoughts thick enough and closed enough to where nothing but darkness is inside that structure. You are so entranced into paying attention to your thoughts and emotions that you never go beyond the borders they create. If you want to see how restricted your walls are, just start walking towards them. Let's say you have an emotional fear of heights. When you were young, you fell off a ladder and the impression stayed with you. That is one of your walls. If you doubt that is a wall, let's see you walk through it. Let's say something happens that let's say something happens that activity that let's say something happens that activates these old feelings of fear and you decide to walk right towards it. The closer you get, the more you will have the urge to pull back. That which you collected from your past forms a boundary that you intuitively want to avoid. That's natural. That's what we do with walls. We avoid running into them. But because you avoid running to them, they lock you inside their perimeter. They become your prison because they are the boundaries of your awareness. Because you are not willing to approach them, you cannot see what is beyond them. When you approach the barriers, when you approach the barrier areas of your thoughts and emotions, it feels like going into an abyss. Oh, I wrote about that first day back from the abyss. You don't want to get near that place, but you can go there if you want to get out. You will go there. But you will realize that darkness is not what's really there. What is really there are the walls that are blocking the infinite light. When you're looking for light, that is a crucial distinction. Distinction. Oh, okay. If you see a wall and it is protecting you from unending darkness, you will not want to go there. But if you see a wall that is blocking the light, you will want to go there in order to remove the wall. It is often said that you must go through the darkest night, in order to get into the infinite light. This is because what we call darkness is really the blocking of light. You must go past these walls. It is not really difficult to get past the walls. Time and time again, every day, the natural flow of life collides with our walls and tries to tear them down. But time and again, we defend them. You must realize that when you defend yourself, you are really defending your walls. There is nothing else to defend in there. There is just your awareness of being in the limited house you built to live in. What you are defending is the house you built to protect yourself. You are hiding inside. If something happens to challenge the walls of your psyche, you get highly defensive. You have built a self-concept, moved inside, and now you defend that home with all you have. But what that creates, but that creates the inner home. Let me read that again. But what creates that inner home? But what creates that inner home other than the walls of your thoughts? When you say, I'm a woman and I'm 45 years old, I'm married to Joe, and I graduated from this school, those are thoughts. The actual situation don't exist in there with you except in the form of thoughts that you cling to. But I was a cheerleader and I was the president of my senior class. That was 30 years ago. Those situations don't exist anymore, but they exist inside of you, and they form the walls in which you live. What if somebody challenge your self-concept and break a little hole in it? What if somebody managed to shake one of those foundational thoughts that the house of your psyche is built upon? Imagine if someone told you when you were 20 years old, wait a minute, those are not your parents. You were adopted. Didn't they ever tell you? You would adamant, you would adamantly deny it until they showed you the documents. It would shake up your whole inner being. Just one wrong thought and the structure starts to crumble. Tremendous fear and turmoil can open up inside of you simply because something is not the way you thought it was. It shakes you to the core of your being because it challenges the houses of thoughts in which you are dwelling. To fix this, you start in with your rationalization. I knew they were really nice. They were just like my real parents would have been. Imagine them adopting someone like me and bringing me up just like their own. God, they were even more special than I thought they were. You patched that hole up very well. That's what we do with our walls. We keep them solid. Nothing is allowed to shake those walls. Notice that you patch the cracking wall with thoughts. You patch with thoughts that which is made of thoughts. Hold up. You patch with thoughts that which is made of thoughts. You patch with thoughts that which is made of thoughts. That's what we do. Just like the people who fearfully lock themselves inside the dark house in the middle of a sunlit field and then struggle to create some sunlight. We work hard to build a world within the confines of our inner walls that is better than the inner darkness. We decorate our walls with the memories of our past experience and with our dreams of the future. In other words, we decorate them with thoughts. But just as the people in the house had the potential to set out of their own But just as the people in the house had the potential to step out of their own self-made artificial world into the beauty of the natural light, you can step outside of your house of thoughts into the unlimited. Your awareness can expand to encompass. Okay, your awareness can expand to encompass vast spaces instead of the limited space in which you dwell. In which you dwell. I don't know what I said. Then when you look back at the little house you built, you will wonder why you were never even in there. When you look back at that little house you built, you will wonder why you were ever in there. This is your journey out. True freedom is very close. It's just on the other side of your walls. Enlightenment is a very special thing. But in truth, one should not focus on it. Focus instead on the walls of your own making that are blocking the light. Of what purpose is to build walls that block the light and then strive for enlightenment. You can get out simply by letting everyday life take down the walls you hold around yourself. You simply don't participate in supporting, maintaining, and defending your fortress. Imagine your house of thoughts standing in the middle of an ocean of light from a trillion stars. Imagine your awareness trapped inside the darkness of that house, struggling daily to live off the artificial light of your limited experiences. Now imagine the walls crumbling down and the effortless release of consciousness expanded into the brilliance of what is and always was. Now give that experience a name. Enlightenment. Chapter 13. Far, far beyond. Ultimately, the word beyond captures the true meaning of spirituality. In its in its most basic sense, going beyond means going past where you are. It means not staying in your current state. When you constantly go beyond yourself, there are no more limitations. There are no more boundaries. Limitations and boundaries only exist at the place where you stop going beyond. If you never stop, then you go beyond boundaries, beyond limitations, beyond the sense of a restricted self. Beyond is infinite in all directions. If you take a laser beam and aim it in any direction, it will go on for infinity. It will only cease to be infinite if you create an artificial boundary that it cannot penetrate. Boundaries created the appearance of finiteness in infinite space. Things seem finite because your perception hits mental boundaries. In truth, everything is infinite. It is you who takes that which goes on forever and talks about a mile from here. Hold up. It is you who takes that which goes on forever and talks about a mile from here. He says, and talks about a mile from here. Okay. What is a mile from here? It's nothing but a piece of infinity. There are no limits. This is just the infinite universe. To go beyond, you must keep going past the limits that you put on things. This requires changes at the core of your being. Right now, you are using your intellectual mind to break the world up into the individual thoughts objective. You are then using the same mind to put these discrete thoughts together in a defined relationship to each other. You do this as an attempt to feel in semblance of control. This is seen most clearly in your constant attempt to make the unknown known. You say to yourself, it wouldn't dare rain tomorrow. It's my day off. And since Jennifer loves being outdoors, she would certainly want to go hiking with me. In fact, if I want an extra day off, Tom won't mind covering for me. After all, I covered for him once. You have it all figured out. Excuse me. You know how everything is supposed to be, even the future. Your views, your opinions, your preference, your concepts, your goals, your beliefs are all ways of bringing the infinite universe down to the finite where you can feel a sense of control. Since the analytical mind cannot handle the infinite, you created an alternative reality of finite thoughts that can remain fixed within your mind. You have taken the whole broken You have taken the whole, broken it into pieces, and selected a handful of these pieces to put together in a certain way within your mind. I'm going to read that again. You have taken the whole, broken it into pieces, and selected a handful of these pieces to be put together in a certain way within your mind. This mental model has become your reality. You must now struggle day and night to make the world fit your model, and you label everything that doesn't fit as wrong, bad, or unfair. If anything happens that challenges how you view things, you fight, you defend, you rationalize, you get frustrated and angry over simple things. This is a result of being unable to fit what's actually happening to your model of reality. If you want to go beyond your model, if you hold up, if you want to go beyond your model, you have to take the risk of not believing in it. If your mental model is bothering you, it's because it doesn't incorporate reality. Your choice is to either resist reality or go beyond the limits of your model. In order to truly go beyond your model, you must first understand why you built it. The easiest way to understand this is to study what happens when the model doesn't work. If you ever built your whole world on a model of life predicated upon another person's behavior or the permanence of a relationship, I'm gonna ask the question. Hold up. Have you ever built your whole world on a model of life predicated upon another person's behavior or the permanence of a relationship? If so, have you have you ever had the foundation pulled out from under you? Somebody leaves you, somebody dies, something goes wrong, something shakes your model to the core. When this happens, your entire view of who you believe you are, including your relationship to everyone and everything around you, begins to fall apart. You panic and do everything you can to hold it together. You beg, you fight, and struggle to try to keep your world from collapsing. Once you've had an experience like that, and most people have, you realize that the model you built is tendency at best. No, that's not tendency. Tenuous. That's what it is. You realize that the model you built is tenuous at best. The entire thing can fall apart. The whole model and all that is built upon it, including your entire view of yourself and everything else, can start to crumble. What you experience when this light, what you experience when this happens is one of the most important learning experiences of your life. You come face to face with what made you build that model. The level of discomfort and disorientation you experience is frightening. You struggle just to get back to some semblance of normal perception. You are really doing, no, what you are really doing is trying to pull the mental models back around you. What you are really doing is trying to pull the mental model back around you so that you can settle down in your familiar mental setting. But our whole world doesn't have to fall apart in order for us to see what we are doing in there. We are constantly trying to hold it all together. If you really want to see why you do things, then don't do them and see what happens. Let's say you're a smoker. If you decide to stop smoking, you quickly confront the urges that cause you to smoke. These urges are the reason you smoke. They are the outermost layer of cause. If you can sit through these urges, you will see what caused them. If you can get comfortable with what you see, you will face the next layer of causation, and so on, layer upon layer. Likewise, there's a reason you overeat. Likewise, there's a reason you overeat. I think I say overheat. There's a reason why you dress the way you do. There's a reason for everything you do. If you want to see why you care so much about what you wear and what your hair is like, then just don't do it one day. Wake up in the morning and go somewhere disheveled with your hair a mess. See what happens to the energy inside of you. See what happens to you when you don't do things that make you comfortable. What you'll see is why you're doing them. You are constantly trying to stay with your comfort zone. You struggle to keep people, places, and things in the manner that supports your model. Excuse me. That supports your model. Let's see what that is. I don't see that. You are constantly trying to stay within your comfort zone. You struggle to keep people, places, and things in a manner that supports your model. If they start to go any other way, you get uncomfortable. Your mind then becomes active, telling you how to get things back the way you need them to be. Your mind then becomes active, telling you how to get things back the way you need them to be. The moment somebody starts behaving in a way that is outside your expectations, your mind starts talking. It says, what should I do about this? I can't just ignore what he did. I could confront him directly or ask someone else to talk to him. Your mind is telling you to fix it. It doesn't really matter what you end up doing. It's all about getting back within your comfort zone. The zone is infinite. All attempts to stay within it keeps you finite. Going beyond always means letting go of the effort to keep things within your defined limits. Going beyond always means letting go of the effort to keep things within your defined limits. So there are two ways you can live. You can devote your life to staying in your comfort zone, or you can work on your freedom. In other words, you can devote your whole life to the process of making sure everything fits within your limited model, or you can devote your life to freeing yourself from the limits of your model. To understand this better, let's take a trip to the zoo. Imagine that you're having a great time until you see a tiger inside a small cage. This causes you to contemplate what it would be like to live the rest of your life in such a tight confinement. The very thought is extremely frightening to you. But in truth, the confines of your comfort zone creates just such a hello. The confines of your comfort zone creates just such a cage. The inner cages doesn't limit your body. It limits the expansion of your consciousness. Because you aren't able to go outside your comfort zone, you are, in essence, locked in confinement. If you examine this, you will see that you're willing to stay in this cage because you're afraid. Your comfort zone is familiar to you, but under it is the unknown. To fully appreciate this, paranoid, just imagine the most paranoid person you have ever met in your entire life. He's so scared. Every moment of his life, he thinks somebody's trying to hurt him. If you offer him that tiger's cage, he might accept your offer. He doesn't see it as being locked in a cage. He sees it as a protection for what could harm him. That which, that which looks like prison to you looks like safety to him. What if a security service come to your house and bolted down all the doors and buried all the windows? If you happen to be inside at the time, would you panic or want to get out? Or would you thank them for helping you feel safe? Most people have the second reaction when it comes to the limitations of their psyche. They want to stay in there and feel safe. They don't say, get me out of here. I'm locked in this tiny world in which everything has to be a certain way. I have to worry about what everybody's doing, what I look like, and everything I ever said. I want out. Instead of want out, they try to keep their cage stable. If something is not comfortable, they do whatever they must do. They must to protect themselves and get back to a feeling of safety. If you ever done that, it means you love your cage. Oh wow. I don't love my cage. I'm trying to get out every moment that I can. Yes indeed. When the cage of the psyche got rattled, so it you fixed it. You fixed it. You fixed it so that you could be comfortable inside. When you truly awake spiritually, you realize you are in the cage, right? You wake up and realize that you can hardly move in there. You're constantly hitting the limits of your comfort zone. You see that you're afraid to tell people what you really think. You see that you're too self-conscious to freely express yourself. You see that you have to stay on top of everything in order to be okay. I just said that. On top of everything. Wow. Why? There's really no reason. You have set these limitations on yourself. If you don't stay with them, you get scared. You feel hurt and you feel threatened. That's your cage. The tiger knows the limits of his cage when he hits the bars. You know the limits of your cage when the psyche starts to resist. Your bars are the outer boundaries of your comfort zone. The minute you come to the edge of your cage, it lets you know it in no hold up. It lets you know it in no uncertain terms. The minute you come to the edge of your cage, It lets you know it in no uncertain terms. Let's look at the edge by way of example. In the old days, if you wanted to keep your dog in the backyard, you had to put up a fence. Nowadays, you don't need a fence because everything is electronic. You just bury wires underground and put a little collar on the dog. The dog thinks, "Hey, I'm free. I used to have to be inside a fence. This is great." Of course, he goes running right to where he's not supposed to go, and zap, he jumps back and barks. What happened? An invisible limit was there, and when the dog approached that limit, it gave him a little shock. It hurt. It was uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable enough so that now the dog feels fear whenever he approaches the boundaries. So you see, a cage doesn't have to look like a cage. It can be a cage created by your fear of discomfort. If you approach your limits, you begin to feel uncomfortable and insecure. Those are the bars of your cage. As long as you stay inside of it, you cannot possibly know what's on the other side. The boundaries of this cage are what make your world appear finite and temporal. The infinite and eternal are just outside the limits of your cage. Wow, it didn't miss up none. Going beyond means going beyond the borders of the cage. There should be no cage. The soul is infinite. It is free to expand everywhere. It is free to experience all of life. This can only happen when you are willing to face reality without mental boundaries. If you still have barriers and you know what they are because you hit them every day, you must be willing to go beyond them. Otherwise, you remain within your cage. And remember, decorating your cage with beautiful experiences, fun memories, and great dreams is not the same as going beyond. A cage by any other name is still a cage. You must be willing, excuse me, you must be willing to go beyond. Throughout each day, you frequently hit the edges of your cages. When you hit these edges, you either pull back or try to force things to change so that you can remain comfortable. You actually use the brilliance of your mind to stay inside your cage. Day and night, you plot and plan how to stay within your comfort zone. Sometimes you can even fall asleep at night because you're too busy thinking about what you. Sometimes you can't even fall asleep at night because you're too busy thinking about what you need to do to stay within your cage. How can I make it so that she will never leave me? How can I keep her from ever become interested in someone else? You're trying to figure out how to be sure that you won't hit the edge of your cage, the edge of your cage. Let's go back to the dog. Since that particular dog was used to roaming free, since that particular dog was used to roaming free, it is a sad day when he stops trying to get out of the yard. The only reason he will stop trying to go beyond his little space is that he's afraid of the edges. But what if we're dealing with a very brave dog that's determined to be free? Imagine that that dog has not given up. You find him sitting there, right at that place where the collar starts vibrating, and he's not backing off. Every minute he steps forward a little bit more in order to get used to the force field. If he continues, he will eventually get out. There's not a chance in the world that he won't. Since it's just an artificial edge, he can get through if he can learn to withstand the discomfort. He just has to be ready, willing, and able to handle the discomfort. The collar cannot actually hurt him. It's just uncomfortable. If he's willing to go beyond his comfort zone, he is free to come and go at will. Your cage is just like this. When you approach the edge, you feel insecurity, jealousy, fear, or self-consciousness. You pull back, and if you are like most people, you stop trying. Spirituality begins when you decide that you will never stop trying. Spirituality is a commitment to go beyond, no matter what it takes. It is infinite. It is an infinite journey based upon going beyond yourself every minute of the day for the rest of your life. Oh, I love that. It is an infinite journey based upon going beyond yourself every minute of every day for the rest of your life. If you're truly going beyond, you are always at your limits. You're never back in the comfort zone. If you're truly going beyond, you are always at your limits. You're never back in the comfort zone. Do you want to be at your limits or is unlimited? I thought limits means restriction. Limits. It said if you're truly going beyond, you are always at your limit. Meaning like my limit is so expansive that is unlimited. And every moment that I break out of those invisible cages, then, oh, there it is. There it is. There it goes, skipping. You're never back in the comfort zone. I loved it. I have experienced so many things within my life that gave me so much enjoyment. I'm not going to say the whole thing was full of pleasure, but it gave me enjoyment to experience something different. And that's what I say about my reality. The things that I experience, even though people will look at it on a lower level, I still experience things that broaden my perspective to make me want to live in a more bigger way. I just think bigger. I have a big family. I have a big mind. I have everything I want to do. I want it on a bigger level. And that's it. I just had to say that. If you're truly, now I get it. It's that if you're truly going on, you're always at your limits. You just keep breaking barriers. You keep breaking, illusions after illusions after illusion because everything is within your mind. And so within your mind, you give it a direction and you feel like you can't accomplish that. That is a limitation. But the thing is, once you break that emotion or thought of telling you that you cannot do it, you done broke that barrier and you done entered into a new reality. And that's what gets you into entering new realities based upon how you perceive yourself, based upon what you know. I'm going to say no, not believe. You know you can do this because what's stopping you? Even though there are, like they say, the invisible fence like children or money or no transportation or those are invisible barriers because it's always a way around it because I've been in those situations where I didn't have any money, I didn't have no transportation, I didn't have too much nothing, but I always overcame. I kept moving, and that's how reality works. You have to keep moving forward, keep progressing, keep, I ain't gonna say asking yourself the questions of why, but keep assessing yourself to get to the next level. That's what I know. You always have to keep assessing yourself in order to see how you progressing. And due to what you believe that is best for you on the next journey, that's the way you're gonna go. Those the thoughts is gonna take you there. Like now, I'm on a new I'm on a new path. And within my new path, it consists of me using some of my older strategies to break through now. Because I felt like, okay, if I get new strategies, then it may potentially work, which they didn't work. So now that I went back to some of my old strategies, things are coming back to life for me. Things are beginning to change for me. So what I do is I go back down memory lane and I try to put all the pieces back together based upon the things that I went through and the things that I had to get myself out of. But that's gonna be another video, y'all, because we gonna piece my life together to now. But what I want to do is help y'all to be able to do the same thing. But I'm gonna show y'all how to do that. Yeah. That thing is going extremely fast. I have to slow it down. The next time I go live, it will be slowed down. Wow, because it wasn't going that fast from my end, from what I'm looking at now. It's going extremely fast. The little, the bottom screen thing. But anyway, yeah. It's so much that I really want us to get to look at. Because now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, I already said it though, didn't I? I said, I'm reading this book to work on my speech, to work on me being consistent. It's so many reasons why I'm doing this book review. And another reason is to give y'all access to the books, to, those who don't have access to the book. But the book, audio book is on YouTube. But it's like I'm having my own I'm having my own thoughts, or should I say my own analysis about some of the stuff that I'm reading within the book. And it's helping me realize a lot of things as well. It really is. I'm trying to see, is this the end? Is this the, no, we got one more chapter and then that's going to be the end. Yeah, because we stopped at chapter 15. And we almost done with this, but this really made me think about something about that visual cage. But I had wrote, I wonder what that is. I wrote something too about I had took that title from Maya Angelou and I wrote, I know what the cage bird sings. I wonder what I did with it. I did a lot of writing, y'all. I have experienced so much pain. And only me writing got me out. Only me boosting myself got me out. And they say selfishness? Me being selfishness Me being selfish is what pulled me out of a lot of my situations because I feel like I didn't have nobody else. My selfishness say I'm going to focus on me. I'm going to get me some help. I'm going to talk to this person. I'm going to do this. My selfishness did get me out of a lot of things that I went through. Because if I would have been like, oh, what if, I would have been like basing my whole life or basing my how can I say this? I don't want to say self-esteem, but I want to say this. If I would have been allowing other people to dictate where I was supposed to go in my life, I would never be in this mind state that I'm in right now. I would be on a very, very lower level because my thing about me is like I love to challenge myself. I do. That's why I believe like when it comes to my mama and my aunt, they had 3 kids. I said, no, I wanted to be married and I wanted a husband. And I did that. But when I seen that, okay, I got to work on me before I can think about doing this. But I had to measures, or should I say precautions to stop having children because I didn't trust myself. So that's where that came about. So I stopped at 6 kids. As far as marriage, I'm married twice, and I never got married again. Not because of I don't want it again. It's because I'm fixing myself. And then everybody that I run across, or meet, they're not working on themselves. I can't tell nobody how to live their life. If they think they fine, it's great. But if I'm getting myself to a certain level, if I'm putting myself if I'm developing myself on a consistent basis, if I feel like that's the most important thing to me, my spirituality and stuff like that, I would also want to be with somebody else who thinks that their spirituality is the most important thing in their life. Yeah. So, yeah, this one is going to be something else because it's the longest live. I'm reading more chapters and I'm going in depth about myself. This is good. It's getting a lot of stuff out for me. And those who want to rewatch it, they can rewatch it and things of that sort because that's what it's about. You just gotta keep it real with yourself. And then, me reading this book, it's like, wow, it's a lot of stuff that I've been lying to myself about when I'm thinking that I've been keeping it real. But I did a journal session last night and that was all over the place and I knew it. And then it's some stuff that I read in this book just a few minutes ago and I'm like, wow, I said that when I was writing last night. But anyway, let me finish because I want to be done by 10 o'clock. Okay. Spirituality is the commitment to go beyond no matter what it takes. It's an infinite journey based upon going beyond yourself every minute of every day of the rest of your life. If you are truly going beyond, you are always at your limits. You're never back in the comfort zone. A spiritual, they used to say comfort zone is great, but I have to remember that comfort zone is like saying self sabotage. But it's some things you do need to be like my industry. That would be my comfort zone, which that's great. But then it's like once you get that situated with me knowing which industry I want to work in, then you have to master it, become an expert in it, and go to different angles within that industry to know how you're gonna. Well, I ain't gonna say no, because when it comes to you structuring your presentation, that can go any way, because it's still in the industry, or it's still in that particular subject, but it can take you all over the place, because it's just so many ways of explaining one thing. Get along, you're talking about many different things within this one thing. But yeah, you're never back in the comfort zone. A spiritual being feels as though they are always against that edge. Hold on, a spiritual being feels as though they are always against that edge, and they are constantly being pushed through it. Eventually, you will realize that it cannot actually hurt you to go beyond your physical limitations. I mean, psychological limitations. Excuse me. If you are willing to just stand at the edge and keep walking, you will go beyond. Oh wow, like go the edge. Get on that edge and fly. Just fly. Just be you. When they say that, be you, it's so many people. I can't talk about that. I can only talk about me. Now you relax and go past that point. That is all it takes to go beyond. Go beyond where you were a minute ago by handling what's happening now. I'm gonna read that again. You used to pull back when it got uncomfortable. Now you relax and go past that point. That is all it takes to go beyond. Go beyond where you were a minute ago by handling what's happening now. Would you like to go beyond? Would you like to feel no edges? Imagine a comfort zone that is so expanded that it can easily fit the entire day. No matter what happens, the day unfolds and the mind doesn't say anything. You simply interact with the day with a peaceful, fully inspired heart. If your edges happen to get hit, the mind doesn't complain. It all just passes through. This is how great beings live. When you are trying like a great athlete to immediately relax through your edges when they get hit, then it's all over. You'll realize that you will always be fine. Nothing can even bother you except your edges. And now you know what to do with them. You end up leaving your edges because they point your way to freedom. All you have to do is constantly relax and lean into them. Then one day you would, excuse me, least expect it. You fall through into the infinite. You fall through into the infinite. That is what it means to go beyond. That is what it means to go beyond. And we're done with that chapter. Chapter 14, letting go of false solidity. The inside of one's psyche is a very complex, sophisticated place. It is full of conflicting forces that are constantly changing due to both internal and external stimuli. This results in wide variations of needs, fears, and desires over relatively short periods of time. Because of this, very few people have the clarity to understand what's going on in there. There's just too much happening at once to follow the cause and effect relationship between all of our different thoughts, emotions, and energy levels. As a result, we find ourselves struggling just to hold it all together. But everything keeps on changing. Yes, it does. Moods, desire, likes, dislikes, enthusiasm, lethargy. It's a full-time test just to maintain the discipline necessary to create even the semblance of control and order in there. When you're lost and struggling with all these psychological, energetic changes, you are suffering. Oh my goodness, that's right. That's why I said when I was like, I haven't went live Saturday or Sunday. I said I got to go live today because reading this book, it kept me focused because it kept bringing to my awareness certain things that I felt like I was aware of, but it got more in depth about it. So I had got a better understanding of what I say when I feel like I'm getting to the top of things or I'm getting some type of solution to what I think. In truth, the very responsibility of having to hold it all together is itself a form of suffering. Wow, having to hold it all together. You notice this most when things start to fall apart outside. your psyche goes in turmoil and you have to struggle to hold your inner world together. But what exactly are you trying to hold on to? The only thing is there are your thoughts, emotions, and movement or energy. Right. You're trying to hold on to whatever reality you painted to others. Because I always say this, like, I imagine myself like in I Am the Legend, that movie where it was just Will Smith and the dog. I imagine, let's just say if it was just the world of me, it's nothing that would fear, I would be afraid of. But I kind of feel like that, well, I ain't gonna kind of say, because y'all know me, it is or it ain't. I feel like that way now, but it's like, people don't understand it. That's why I say what I mean, and I mean what I say, and that's just it. And people think they can change my mind, but they cannot. Once I say what I say, and I done thought about it, that is what it is. Now, you can probably convince me to do something for that moment, or if it's something that's gonna benefit me, but at the end of the day, I'm still gonna get back to my original decision. That's how it works. Because it is what it is. I mean, yes, I mean, I'm not in the business of manipulating people, but I am in the business of making Sakita happy, making Sakita, and that don't. That's I don't look at that as manipulation. I look at it as a form of even trade. You got something that I want, I got something you want. But it depends on what it is that you want if I'm willing to accept your offer. Within a moment, that's why I have to close our contracts. I'm still here, fixing things in my head, y'all. I'll be back to the book in a minute. Close the contracts, then you want to worry about making deals with past energies that didn't serve you in the past anyway. Because once you reopen the contract, that's what I call contracts. Anytime you enter a new relationship, it is a contract based upon what you need in that moment in time, based upon what you're trying to accomplish in that moment in time. That's how you supposed to link up with others, connect with others, based upon what it is. And a lot of people just they don't even know what it is they need. They just know that they don't want to be alone, and that is which if y'all been following this book, that's the number one reason not to enter a relationship because you don't want to be alone. Okay, they're like clouds simply coming and going through vast inner space. But you keep hold on, let me read the whole thing again at the bottom. It says the only thing in there are your thoughts, emotion, and movement or of energy. None, none of which are silent. They are like clouds simply coming and going through a vast inner space. But you keep holding on to them as though consistency can substitute for stability. Oh my. The Buddhists have a term for this, clinging. In the end, clinging is what the psyche is all about. In order to understand clinging, we must first understand who clings. As you go deeper into yourself, you will naturally come to realize that there is an aspect of your being that is always there and never changing. Yes, it is. This is your sense of awareness, your consciousness. It is the awareness of. It is this awareness that is aware of your thoughts, experiences the ebb and flow of your emotions, and receive your physical senses. This is the root of self. You are not your thoughts. You are aware of your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You feel your emotions. You are not your body. You look at in the mirror and experience this world through its eyes and ears. Hold up. You are not your body. You look at it in the mirror. You look at it in the mirror. You are not your body. You look at it in the mirror and experience this world through its eyes and ears. You are the conscious being who is aware that you are aware of all these inner and outer things. If you explore consciousness, which is your pure sense of awareness, you will see that it really does not. Hold up. If you explore consciousness, which is your pure sense of awareness, you will see that it really does not exist at any particular point in space. If you explore consciousness, which is your pure sense of awareness, you will see that it really does not exist at any particular point in space. That's what spirit does. It is free to move. And I mean, this is the number one thing I be wanting people to see because they so fixated on the physical world and they talk spirituality only when it comes to the biblical text. But that's not the only way you can be spiritual. You is already spiritual. You don't need a biblical text, the word of Christ or Jesus, any of that to be spiritual. Your thoughts are spiritual. You are spiritual. This is not, well, I don't want to say an illusion, but it ain't real. This don't last forever. This is only going to be here. The physical body is only going to be here for, a short period of time. But yeah. hmm You are not your body. I gotta read that one more time. You are not your body. You look at it in the mirror and experience this world through its eyes and ears. Its eyes and ears. You are its eyes, not he, she, Sally, or John. Its eyes and ears. You are the consciousness being who is aware that you are aware of all these inner and outer things. If you explore consciousness, which is your pure self of awareness, you will really see that it really does not exist at any particular point in space. Rather, it is a field of awareness that focuses down to a point by concentrating on a particular set of objects. I'm going to read that again. Rather, it is a field of awareness that focuses down to a point by concentrating on a particular set of objects. You can be aware of feeling just one finger, or you can be aware of feeling your entire body at once. You can be totally lost in a single thought, or you can be simultaneously aware of your thoughts, your emotions, your body, and your surroundings. Consciousness is a dynamic field of awareness that has the ability to either narrowly focus or broadly expand. When consciousness concentrates narrowly enough, it loses its broader sense of self. It no longer experiences itself as a field of pure consciousness. This, what it's talking about now, is breaking down that trance, that hypno state that I'll be talking about, how you can get caught up in things, and then you thinking it's you, and it's not you, and then when you come back, you'll realize that it wasn't you because you wasn't doing the things that you said you wanted to do. You was doing a lot of stuff that you didn't want to do. That's because you was caught up. Somebody else can entrap you in their own, this is what they call magic, in their own suggestions or their own, how can I say this? That it would be suggestions, but you can get caught up in somebody else's illusion based upon material things. That's what they would use. That's what they would say would be some type of prop. That's something that they're using to reel you in to get what they need, whatever that is, however long it is. But that's you being hypnotized. But they wouldn't say that. That would be, people use different terminology to explain stuff. That's how I explain it. You get hypnotized based upon another person's prop, their hair, their perfume, cologne, the car they drive, the job they have, or whatever. You can get entrapped in somebody else's world. That's why I would love to share my ideas, my dreams with other people so we can all have the reality that we all want based upon us helping each other, you know, us working as a team to have a means of us building our own empire, of not building our own empire, of it would just be a stepping stone for those who are helping me build my empire. But anyway, yeah. So you are not the body, yeah. If you explore consciousness, which is your pure sense of awareness, you will see that it really does not exist at any particular point in space. Rather, it is a field of awareness that focuses. Here you go again. I'm gonna read it again. Rather, it is a field of awareness that focuses down to a point by concentrating on a particular set of objects. That would be called props. Whatever it is. Either you're gonna focus on your imagination, your ideas, and when you connect with somebody else and they have that what I can say, that missing piece or what you need in order to go forth with some kind of self-development or something that you need to handle within your business. That's what it's about. Putting everything together and making it work for each other. Because if it don't work for each other, that is going to be a disaster. It's not going to last. Which a lot of things, it does have its expiration date due to, expansion. Is the phone ringing again? Due to expansion. When somebody evolve and expands from that level, they have to move on. They have to move on. Or if they regress and keep themselves stagnated, then they have to get let go. That's how it works. People be like, well, I'm a good person and I'm a loving person and I can really offer you something. Well, when you're given the opportunity to showcase your offering, then and you don't be able to uphold what you say you can do, that's a means of you stagnating. You can't help me and I can't, well, I could help you because I'm on a high level. Anybody on a high level can always help somebody on a lower level. But what can a lower level person do to somebody on a high level? But anyway, yeah. You can be aware of feeling just one finger, or you can be aware of feeling your entire body at once. You can be totally lost in a single thought, or you can be simultaneously aware of your thoughts, your emotions, your body, and your surroundings. Consciousness is a dynamic field of awareness that has the ability to either narrowly focus or broadly expand. When consciousness is trained, well, this little part that I'm reading, it's breaking down how you can put yourself in a trance. If reality is about constantly moving, flowing, going into new environments, then the moment when you stop or lower yourself because it feels good, guess what? You in a trance. Because it's like you moving, but in this one spot. You supposed to be moving. But it's like I'm moving, but you ain't. It's not beneficial. You're not going nowhere. But you gotta keep moving, keep moving. That's how reality is constructed, is created, and you start manifesting the things that you want to see within your reality. Oh, I can't wait to start my webinar. It's gonna be so amazing, y'all. It's gonna be, oh my goodness, because we're gonna get into magic. We're gonna get into so many things, spirituality. We're gonna get into techniques of how you can do so many things, because that's what be wrong with me, because I be so caught up in, not gonna talk about that, but I be caught up in certain things and it just entraps me. And I be like, oh, if only that, it ain't no if only. It just, I handle it and I keep it moving. Not that I want to, just another story. But anyway, yeah. When consciousness concentrates narrowly enough, it loses its broader sense of self. It no longer experiences itself as a field of pure consciousness. I'm going to read that again. When consciousness concentrates narrowly enough, it loses its broader sense of self. It no longer experiences itself as a field of pure consciousness. It begins to relate itself more to the object it focuses upon. As we have seen, this is what happens when you get so absorbed in a movie that you completely lose the broader sense of sitting in a cold, dark theater. In this case, you have shifted from concentrating on your body and its surroundings to concentrating on the world of the movie. You literally get lost in the experience. This can be generalized to your entire experience of life. Your sense of self is determined by where you are focusing your consciousness. But what determines where you focus your consciousness? But what determines where you focus your consciousness? At the most basic level, it is simply determined by anything that catches your awareness because it stands out from the rest. At the most basic level, it is simply determined by anything that catches your awareness because it stands out from the rest. To understand this, imagine that your consciousness is simply observing vast, empty inner space. And that's all it is. That's why I be saying nobody. Once you realize you are nobody, game over. Game over. Well, when it comes to the next person thinking that they can manipulate you, game over. And game on when it comes to you. Because now you make the rules, you write the laws, you do all of that. Because it's your world. This is my, how can I say this? My analogy of saying that when you in your world, it's not about control. It's not about nothing. And that's why I said, with me reading this book, it's helping me clarify a lot of stuff that I was dealing with last night with me trying to write in my journal. It's like I was so discombobulated, I couldn't even think right last night. I was tired. Some things happened at work. What this day was? Saturday. So I was thinking about that when I got there, but everything's okay. You know, I let my mind just just run wild with thoughts of what could happen, this and that or whatever. But anyway, yeah, with me, that's why I said I gotta read this book and I gotta do my live. Like I said, this is so important to me with doing this because this is me showing myself. Not, I know that I broke my consistency when I didn't go Saturday and Sunday, but I'm back at it. I double it up. I got more information. I've been experiencing things within my own life that I have to deal with, and I'm supposed to be the mystic, but yeah, I'm dealing with stuff. But yeah, me reading this book, it's giving me more clarity. It's giving me a lot of other things that I'm like, okay, well, that's why, I could have handled it another way. I didn't go wrong or good. I just could have handled it a different way. And it's something that I wrote when I was just thinking that when I be by myself and I ponder about a lot of stuff, a lot of times I was saying that everything is neutral. Everything is neutral. And they say evil. I say evil is positive. Evil to me is when you stand your ground. The other person ain't gonna like it. They gonna think you're evil. Okay, if you're nice, they're gonna be happy about it. You're not evil no more. So I say evil is positive. It's just a neutral thing. Good or bad is neutral. It depends on who looking. I always use the analogy of I can go out there and shoot 1,000 people because I'm mad or went on a rampage, or I can shoot 1,000 people because they're terrorists and I'm shooting their ass and I'm gonna be a hero. So it all depends how you look at it, your perception of whatever angle you looking at it. So evil, I use it in a good way. That's why I call it the darkness. Once you can conquer your darkness, you have beat. I ain't gonna say beat it, but once you can conquer your darkness, you'll be able to understand more better how to deal with your internal world. Because that's all you're dealing with on the outside, your internal world. Because nothing can show up within your life until you first worked it out within your internal world. You first got an understanding of how things are going to be within. And I'm not saying be a pushover either. But what determines okay? But what determines where you focus your consciousness? Okay, I got this pen on my side. At the most basic level, it is simply determined by anything that catches your awareness because it stands out from the rest. To understand this, oh God, what am I doing? Imagine that your consciousness is simply observing vast, empty inner space. Now, imagine that passing through this space is the gentle flow of random thoughts, objects, a cat, a horse, a word, a color, or an abstract thought. They are sporadically floating right through your awareness. Now let one object stand out above the rest. It catches your attention and draws the focus of your attention. You immediately realize that the more focused you become on the object, the slower it will move. The slower it moves. Until eventually, if you focus on it enough, it stops. The force of consciousness ends up holding the object stable enough. Look at this. This is what I call telekinesis. See, that's why I tell y'all this shit is tricky. Telekinesis is when you can move shit with your mind. You doing it, but you thinking that, oh, this is how reality works. You're doing it. Let's say that you're talking to somebody and you make them cry. That's telekinesis. Your words move them. Y'all look at telekinesis only as a mental thing. It is mental because your words is touching their mind and making them partner on things. It's still telekinesis, but anyway, you still moving. Okay, I'm gonna have to find a better way to do y'all because I get so excited about this stuff because it's simple, but it's kind of unorthodox. I ain't gonna say kind of, but it is. But anyway, it catches your attention and draws the focus of your awareness. You immediately realize that the more focused you become on the object, the slower it moves. Until eventually, if you focus on it enough, it stops. The force of consciousness ends up holding the object stable simply because by concentrating on it. Just as a fish can pass through water but not through ice, which is simply concentrated water, so mental and emotional energy patterns become fixed when they encounter concentrated consciousness. The very act of differentiating the amount of awareness focused on one particular object over any other object cleaning. Hold on, I'm gonna read that again. The very act of differentiating the amount of awareness focused on one particular object over any other creates clinging. The very act of differentiating the amount of awareness focused on one particular object over any other object creates clinging. As the result of clinging is the selective thoughts and emotions. Okay. Oh, blah, blah, blah. In the results of clinging is the okay. Hold on. Did I do it? Hold up. In the results of clinging is the selective thoughts and emotions. In the results of clinging is that selective thoughts and emotions stays in one place long enough to become the building blocks of the psyche. Clinging is one of the most primal acts because some object remains in the conscious while other passes through. Your sense of awareness relates more to them. You use them as fixed points to create a sense of what is this? Oh, you use them as fixed points to create a sense of orientation, relationships, and security in the midst of constant interchanges. And this need for orientation extends to the outside world. Although you are clinging to the inner object, you use them to orient, orient, orientate, orient and relate yourself to the multitude of physical objects that comes in through your senses. You then create thoughts that ties all the objects together and you cling to the entire structure. You actually end up relating so strong to this inner structure that you build your entire sense of self around it. Because you cling to it, it stays fixed. And because it stays fixed, you relate to it above all else. This is the birth of the psyche. In the midst of the expansion of empty mind by clinging to passing through thought, in the midst of the expansion of empty mind by clinging to passing thought objects, you make an island of apparent solidity. Once you have a thought that stage, you can rest your head on it. Then as you cling to more and more thoughts, you build an inner structure for consciousness to focus on. The more consciousness narrows it, hold up, the more consciousness narrows its focus until the mental structure. The greater the tendency to utilize it to define the concept of self. The more consciousness narrows its focus into this mental structure, the greater the tendency to utilize it to define the concept of self. Gosh. Clinging creates the bricks and mortar with which we build a conceptual self. In the midst of vast inner space, using nothing but the vital thought, you created a structure of apparent solidity to rest upon. Ooh, are we almost? Ooh, it's a long chapter right here, honey. We did. Oh, me, oh, my. Who are you that is lost in trying to build a concept of yourself in order to be found? This question represents the essence of spirituality. You would never find yourself in what you have built to define yourself. Hold up. You would never find yourself in what you have built to define yourself. Wow. You would never find yourself in what you have built to define yourself. You're the one who's doing the building. You may assemble the most amazing collection of thoughts and emotions. You may build a truly beautiful, unbelievable, interesting, and dynamic structure, but obviously, it's not you. You are the one who did this. You are the one who was lost, scared, and confused because you focused your awareness away from your awareness of self. In this panic and this lost state, you learn to cling and hold onto the thoughts and emotions that were passing before you. You use them to build a personality, a persona, a self concept that will allow you to define yourself. Awareness rested itself on the object it was aware of and called it home. Because you have this model of who you are, it is easier to know how to act, how to make decisions, and how to relate to the outside world. If you dare to look, you will see that you live your entire life based on the model you built around yourself. Let's get more specific. You try to hold a consistent, yeah. You try to hold a consistent set of thoughts and concepts in your mind, such as, I am a woman. Yes, even that is a thought or a concept held in your mind. You who are holding on to that are neither male nor female. I just told y'all that. Y'all nobody. Just spirit. You are the awareness who hears the thoughts and sees a woman's body in the mirror. But you cling tightly to those concepts. You think, I am a woman. I am a certain age. I believe in one philosophy versus another. You literally define yourself based on what you believe. I believe in God or I don't believe in God. I believe in peace and nonviolence or I believe in survival of the fittest. I believe in capitalism or I believe in neo-socialism. You take a set of thoughts in the mind and you hold on to them. You make a highly complex rational structure out of them and then present that package as who you are. But it is not who you are. It is just the thoughts you have poured around yourself in an attempt to define yourself. You do this because you are lost inside. Basically, you attempt to create a sense of stability and steadiness inside. This generates a false but welcome sense of security. You also want the people around you to have done the same thing. You want people to be steady enough so that you can predict their behavior. If there aren't, it disturbs you. This is because you have made your predictions of their behavior part of your inner model. This protective shield of beliefs and concepts regarding the outside world acts as an insulation between you and the people you interact with. By having preconceived notions about other people's behavior, you feel safer and more in control. Imagine the fear you would feel if you let the entire wall down. Who have you ever allowed directly into your true inner self without the perception of your mental buffer? Nobody. Not even yourself. Oh, here we go. People just facade out there. People just put facades out there. They even admit that one facade is a little more real than the other. You go to work and get lost in your professional facade, but then you say, I'm going home to be with my family, my friends. I'm going home to be with my family and friends where I can just be myself. So, your work facade drops into the background and your relaxed social facade comes forward. But what about you? The one who is holding the facade together. Nobody gets near that one. That's too scary. The one is too far back there to deal with. The one is too far back there to deal with. So we are all clinging and then building. Some of us are better at this than others. In most societies, you are well rewarded for how good you are. In most societies, let me read that again. In most societies, you are well rewarded for how good you are at clinging and building. I said that. That's why I said, like, if I want to take my business to a next level, I have to change my voice. I have to dress a certain way. I got to do this. But In actuality, I really wouldn't, because it depends on my target market, my target audience, or my target market, whatever. It's my target audience. I said target market, but my target audience is gonna be the one that is gonna take to whatever persona that I present myself as. And I how I come out sometimes it's like my voice changes. Sometimes I feel it. I know it when it happens, but I don't want to sound too country, but I am a country girl. But I don't want to sound too city-ish or whatever, because I'm a country girl. But anyway, we're going on. So, I want to read that again. I want to read that about again. I want to read what it said. Reward the society. Oh, here we go. Some of us are better at this than others. In most societies, you are well rewarded for how good you are at cleaning and building. If you get the model down absolutely right and behave consistently every time, you have actually created someone. You have actually created someone. And if the someone you create is what others want and need, you can be very popular and successful. I just said that. I'm gonna read that again. Okay. And if the someone you created is what others want and need, you can be very popular and successful. You are that person. It got ingrained in you at a very young age, and you never deviated from it. You can really get hold up. You can get really good at this game of creating someone. And if that person you created is not receiving the popularity and success you expected, you can adjust your thoughts accordingly. Of course. I said that before. So it says you can get really good at this game of creating someone. And if the person you created is not receiving the popularity and success you expected, you can just adjust your thoughts accordingly. It's not that there is anything wrong with this. Obviously, everybody does it. But who are you that does this? And why are you doing it? It's important to realize that it is not just up to you what thoughts you cling to and what person you create. Society has a lot to say about this. There are acceptable and unacceptable social behaviors for most everything: how to sit, how to walk, how to speak, how to dress, and how to feel about things. How does our society ingrain these mental and emotional structures within us? Hold on 1 second. Okay, it says, but who are doing this and why are you doing it? It is important to realize that it is not just up to you what thoughts you cling. It is not that there is anything wrong with this. Obviously, everybody does it. Okay, we can. It's important to realize that it is not just up to you what thoughts you cling to and what person you create. It's important to realize that it is not just up to you what thoughts you cling to and what person you create. Society has a lot to say about this. There are acceptable and unacceptable social behavior for almost everything: how to sit, how to walk, and how to speak, how to dress, and how to feel about things. How does our society ingrain these mental and emotional structures within us? When you do it well, you are rewarded with hugs and showered with positive accolades. When you don't do it well, you are punished, either physically, mentally, or emotionally. Just think about how nice you are to people when they behave in accordance with your expectations. Now think about how you close up and pull back from them when they don't. This is not to mention getting angry or even violent towards them. What are you doing? You are trying to change someone's behavior by leaving impressions on their mind. You are attempting to alter their collection of beliefs, thoughts, and emotions so that the next time they act is in the manner you expect. In truth, we are all doing this to each other every day. Why do we let this happen to us? Why do we care so much whether other people accept the facade we put out there? It all comes down to understanding why we are clinging to our self-concept. If you stop clinging, you will see why the tendency to cling was there. If you let go of your facade and don't try to trade it in for a new one, your thoughts and emotions will become unanchored and begin passing through you. It will be a very scary experience. You will feel panic deep inside, and you will be able to get your bearings. And you will be unable to get your bearings. This is what people feel when something very important outside does not fit their inner model. The facade ceases to work and begins to crumble. When it can no longer protect you, you experience great fear and panic. However, you'll find that if you're willing to face that sense of panic, there is a way to get past it. You can go further back in the consciousness that is experiencing it, and the panic will stop. Then there will be a great peace like nothing you ever felt. That's the part very few people come to know. It can stop. The noise, the fear, the confusion, the constant changes of these inner energies. It can all stop. You thought you had to protect yourself. So you grabbed onto the things that were coming at you and used them to hide. You took what you could get your hands on and you started to cling in order to build solidity. But you can let go of what you're clinging to and not play this game. You just have to take the risk of letting it all go and daring to face the fears that were driving you. Then you can pass through the part of you and it will all be over. Hold up. And then you can pass through that part of you and it will all be over. Yeah, that's what it said. It will stop. No more struggling. Just peace. The journey is one of the passing through exactly, hold up. This journey is one of the passing through exactly where you have been struggling not to go. As you pass through that state of turmoil, the consciousness itself is your only repose. You will just be aware that tremendous changes are taking place. You will be aware that there is no solidity, and you will become comfortable with that. You will be aware that each moment of the day is unfolding, and you neither have control nor crave it. You have no concepts, no hopes, no dreams, no beliefs, and no security. You are no longer building mental models of what's going on. But life is going on anyway. You're perfectly comfortable just being aware of it. Here comes this moment, then the next moment, and then the next moment. But that's really what has happened. That's really what has always happened. Moment after moment has been passing before your consciousness. The difference is that now you see it happening. You see that your emotions and your mind are reacting to these moments that are coming through, and you're doing nothing to stop them. You're doing nothing to control it. You're just letting life unfold, both outside and inside of you. If you take this journey, you will get to the state in which you see exactly how the unfolded moments bring up a sense of fear. From this place of clarity, you will be able to experience the powerful tendency to protect yourself. This tendency exists because you truly have no control and that is not comfortable to you. But if you really want to break through, you just have to be willing to just watch the field without protecting yourself from it. You must be willing to see that this need to protect yourself is where the entire personality comes from. It was created by building a mental and emotional structure to get away from the sense of fear. You are now standing face to face with the root of the psyche, with the root of the psyche. If you go deep enough, you can watch the psyche. Oh, if you go deep enough, you can watch the psyche being built. You will see that you are in the middle of nowhere, an empty, infinite space, and all of these inner objects are flowing towards you. Thoughts, feelings, and the oppression of worldly experience are all pouring into your consciousness. You will clearly see that the tendency is to protect yourself from this flow by bringing it under your control. This is an overwhelmingly strongly tendency to lean forward and grab onto selective impressions of people, places, and things as they flow through. You will see that if you focus on these mental images, they become part of a complex structure where there was none. You will see events that took place when you were 10 years old that you're still holding on to. You will see that you're literally taking all your memories, putting them together in an orderly fashion and saying, that's who you are. But you are not the events. You are the one who experienced it. You are the one who experienced the events. How can you define yourself as the thing that happened to you? You were aware of your existence before they happened. You are the one who is in there doing all this, seeing all this, and experiencing all this. You do not have to cling to your experience in the name of building yourself. This is a false sense you are building inside. It is just a concept yourself. It is just a concept of yourself that you hide behind. How long have you been hiding there struggling to keep it all together? Anytime anything goes wrong in the protective model you built about yourself, you defend and rationalize in order to get it back together. Your mind does not struggle until you perceive the event or somehow made it go away. People feel their very existence is at stake, and they will fight and argue until they get control back. This is all because we have attempted to build solidity where there is none. Now we have to fight to keep it together. The problem is there is no way out that way. There is no peace and there is no winning in the struggle. You were told not to build your house upon sand. Well, this is the ultimate sand. In fact, you built your house in empty space. If you continue to cling to what you built, you will have to continually, perpetuously defend yourself. You will have to keep everybody and everything straight in order to reconcile your conceptual model with reality. It's a constant struggle to keep it together. What it means to live spiritual is not participate in the struggle. It means that the events that happen in the moment belongs to the moment. They don't belong to you. They have nothing to do with you. You must stop defining yourself in the relationship to them and just let them come and go. Don't allow events to leave impressions inside of you. If you find yourself thinking about them later on, just let go. If an event happens that doesn't fit your conceptual model and you see yourself struggling and rationalizing to make it fit, just notice what you're doing. In event in the universe didn't match an event in the universe didn't match your model and it's causing disturbance inside of you. Oh, an event in the universe didn't match your model and it's causing disturbance inside of you. If you would simply notice this, you will find that it's actually breaking up your model. You will get to the point where you like this because you will get to the point where you like this because you don't want to keep your model. You will find this as good because you are no longer willing to put any energy into building and solidifying your facade. Instead, you will actually permit the things that disturb your model to act as the dynamic to break it up and free you. This is what it this is what it means to live spiritually. When you become truly spiritual, you are totally different from everybody else. That which everybody else wants, you don't want. That which everybody else resists, you totally accept. You want your model to break and you honor the experience when something happens that can cause disturbance within you, yeah? Why should anything that anyone says or does cause you to get disturbed? You're just on a planet spinning around in the middle of absolutely nowhere. You came here to visit for a handful of years and then you're going to leave. How can you leave all stressed out? Hold on. Hello. This is she. Say it again. I got a letter, but I was gonna call them to confirm that because I didn't know what that was about. So I was still gonna call them to see what they say about that because I don't understand what that's about. Yeah, I do. I wanna, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, I do. Yes, ma'am, that'll be fine. You can call me back, and then you can call me back in the next hour. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. You too. So yeah, trying to see what I looked up at the book kind of closed when I did. Let me see. You must learn to be comfortable with. Okay, you why should anything that anyone says? Okay, we're gonna start right there. Why should anything that anyone says or does cause you to get disturbed? You're just on a planet spinning around the middle of absolutely nowhere. You came here to visit for a handful of years, and then you're going to leave. How can you how can you live all this all stressed up? How can you live all stressed out over everything? Don't do it. If anything causes disturbance inside of you, it means to hit your motto. Inside of you, it means it hit. Oh, if anything causes disturbance inside of you, it means it hit your motto. It means it hit the false part of you that you built in order to control your own definition of reality. But if that model is reality, but if that model is reality, why didn't experiential reality fit? Why didn't experiential reality fit? There's nothing you can make up inside your mind that can ever be considered reality. Wow. There's nothing you can make up inside your mind that can ever be considered reality. You must learn to be comfortable with psychological disturbance. If your mind becomes hyperactive, just watch it. If your heart starts to heat up, let it go through what it must. Try to find the part of you that is capable of noticing that your mind is hyperactive and that your heart is heating up. That part is your way out. There is no way out through building this model of yours. The only way to inner freedom is through the one who watches the self. The self simply notice that the mind and emotions are unraveling, that and that nothing is struggling to hold them together. Of course, this will be painful. The reason you built the whole mental structure was to avoid pain. If you let it fall apart, you're going to feel the pain that you were avoiding when you built it. You must be willing to face this pain. If you were to lock yourself in a fortress because you were afraid to come out, you would have to face the fear if you ever wanted to experience a fuller existence. That fortress would not be protecting you. It would be imprisoning you. To be free, to truly experience life, you must come out. You have to let go and pass through the cleansing process that frees you from your psyche. You do this by simply watching the psyche be the psyche. The way out is through awareness. The way out is through awareness. Stop defining the disturbed mind as a negative experience. Just see if you can relax behind it. When your mind is disturbed, don't ask, what do I do about this? Instead, ask, who am I that noticed this? In time, you will come to realize that the center from which you watch disturbance cannot get disturbed. If it appears disturbed, just notice who is noticing that disturbance. Eventually, it will stop. You will then be able to rest back in the depths of your being while watching your mind and heart create their last zeros of turmoil. When you reach that point, you will understand what it means to be transcended. Awareness transcends what it is aware of. It is as separate as light is from what it shines upon. You are consciousness, and you can free yourself from all of this by relaxing behind it. If you want permanent peace, permanent joy, and permanent happiness, you have to get through to the other side of the inner turmoil. You can experience a life in which waves of love can rush up inside of you anytime you want. It is the nature of your being. You simply have to go to the other side of the cycle. You do that by letting go of the tendency to cling. You do it by not using your mind to build false solidity. You just decide once and for all to take the journey by constantly letting go. At this point, the journey becomes very quick. You will go through the part of you that has always been scared to death, and you will see how that part has always struggled to hold it all together. If you don't feed that part, if you just keep letting go and don't let it cling, eventually you will fall behind the false solidity. This is not something you do. It is something that happens to you. Your only way out is the witness. Just keep letting go by being aware that you are aware. Just keep letting go by being aware that you are aware. If you pass through a period of darkness or depression, just ask, who is aware of the darkness? That's how you pass through the different stages of your inner growth. You just keep letting go and remain aware that you are still there. When you've let go of the dark psyche and you let go of the light psyche and you're no longer clinging to anything, you will reach a point where it will all open up behind you. You are used to being aware of things in front of you. You now become aware of universe behind your seat of consciousness. It don't look like there was anything behind you because you were so focused on building your model out of the thoughts. It didn't look like anything was. It didn't look like there was anything behind you because you were so focused on building your model out of the thoughts and emotions passing before you. There was no awareness of the vast expansion of space inside. Back behind, there is a whole universe. You're just not looking that way. If you're willing to let go, you'll fall back and you will open into an ocean of energy. You will become filled with light. You will become filled with a light that has no darkness, with a peace that passes all understanding. You will then walk through every moment of your daily life with the flow of this inner force sustaining you, feeding you, and guiding you from deep within. You will still have thoughts, emotions, and self-concepts floating around in inner space, but they will be just one small part of your experience, of what you experience. I'm sorry. You will not identify with anything outside the sense of self. Once you reach this state, once you reach this state, you will never have to worry about anything ever again. The force of creation will create creation, both inside and outside of you. You will float in peace, love, and compassion beyond it all, yet honoring it all. There is no need for false solidity when you are at the peace with the universal expansion of your true being. In the end, we will start part 5, living life, this evening around, what is it, 5:15, somewhere around now. Yeah, it's chapter 15, the path of unconditional happiness. We're gonna start that this evening because we still got what is that chapter? We have chapter 15. We have chapter 15 and 16 to do this evening, and then tomorrow morning we would finish part 5, which is chapter 17, 18, and 19. And that will be the end of that. And then Wednesday is when we start the live reading of the 10 Days Rule. Grant Cardone, I'm so excited about that because they're going to get us in another mind. But I said what I want to do today is I'm going to go to Books a Millions and I'm going to pick out another book so we can keep this thing going. But also, I got to start working on a webinar. I don't know what book I'm going to get, but I do got something in mind, but I'm not sure what it's going to be. But anyway, hopefully we will have more people joining the live book club review. This concludes our book reading today. So I will see y'all this evening. Y'all take care now.